So marketing is all about emotions. It's not always about direct sales. From a digital marketing perspective, 5-6 years ago, it was all about direct sales. It's starting to get away from that.
Today, we sit down with Andrew Maffettone, founder and CEO of Blue Tusker, a powerhouse digital marketing agency specializing in e-commerce brands. With over 15 years in e-commerce marketing, Andrew has built and exited agencies, worked hands-on through industry shifts, and is known for his innovative approach to omni-channel strategy. In this episode, we go deep into Andrew's journey, how he spotted a core problem with agency collaboration, spun Blue Tusker out of a previous Amazon-focused agency, and developed a new model bringing together channel specialists under one roof. You'll hear Andrew's firsthand insights on the challenges and rewards of scaling a full-service agency, the power of holistic data, omni-channel marketing pitfalls, and how brands can adapt to AI, shifting consumer trends, and rising e-commerce costs. If you want a real-world look at what it takes to thrive in today's digital marketing place, you won't want to miss this conversation. As always, if you found value from this content, please like and subscribe. All right, Andrew Maffettone, welcome to Beyond Fulfillment.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, we appreciate you being here. So Andrew, you are the founder and the CEO of Blue Tusker, which is a full-service digital marketing agency for e-commerce brands.
Correct.
And
That
you've
is
had
me.
that about 15 years now?
No. I've been in e-commerce marketing for, I think, 15 or 16 years since I started. Blue Tusker, I started in, technically I started it in early 2020. I had actually started an agency mainly focused primarily, at least on the Amazon space, with a partner in mine in 2016. We exited that in late 2019, and then kind of one thing more or less led to another, and now started Blue Tusker. It's kind of a spin-off of that agency.
Okay. I guess I had it wrong on the bio here, but all good. All right. So when you built Blue Tusker, was like, because clearly you had the other agency, you exited that, and then you
Mhm.
wanted to stay in the industry. Was there like a certain aha moment where you realized like I've got to build this new agency?
Yeah, it stemmed from a bunch of different stuff, right? Because like in marketing agencies, there's thousands of them, right? And there's new ones, like there's probably 6 that are going to start since we started this conversation. Like they're all over the place. And so one of the things I realized when I was before I had started the agency with a partner of mine, I was in house, and so obviously I worked with a lot of contractors and agencies and stuff. And the problem I always had was, you'd work with a specialized agency and they would just do Google ads or they'd just do Amazon ads or just social media or whatever their focus was. And the issue was when you want to do like an all encompassing, like full campaign, like maybe you want to have a big promotion around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right? Like something really basic. Getting all of those agencies to work together was a nightmare. Like they didn't want to work together. They thought they were competitive. They had completely different processes. One agency would have like 1 or 2 things done ready to go for the campaign. The other would be like super last minute. And so like getting everyone on the same page was just it was horrible. And so I started to look for full service agencies. And the issue with that was it was all generalists. It was like a bunch of kids out of college who like knew a little bit about a lot. Right. And so then I was like, okay, this is obviously a problem. So I started this last agency with a partner of mine. And because of the way the space was, in 2016, 2017, very Amazon focused. A lot of people were focused on Amazon. They really didn't want to do much for building their own brand off Amazon. But what I started to realize around that time was the average consumer was shopping wherever they wanted, right? Like you could send traffic directly to your website. They didn't care. They'd leave, they go to Amazon. You have people that would find you on Amazon. They'd leave, they go to your website. So they'd be all over the place. And what I realized was the consumer really is better affected by more omni-channel marketing strategies, stuff where you're letting them shop wherever they're most comfortable. But the problem is in order to incorporate some of those strategies, you have to have people that are specialized in certain areas, but they have to know, like the right hand has to know what the left hand is doing. And so what we did, what I wanted to do here at Blue Tusker, which is kind of how we structured everything, is everyone who works here is a specialist in their space. So we have a paid media team with sub departments that solely focus on Google Ads or solely focus on Meta or TikTok or Amazon or Walmart. So they're all very specialized in their areas. Same thing on the owned media side. So then we have people that just focus on social media or just email marketing or SEO. So you're still getting the benefit of working with a specialist in the space. They're all in the States. They're all people that have been in the industry for I don't even know how long at this point. And then you have an account strategist that kind of acts as like a fractional CMO to a certain extent. So for some of the brands we work with, we really are like their entire marketing department in some cases. In other cases, we just do a couple things for them. And we act as more like a puzzle piece of whatever their marketing department is missing. But that kind of allows us to still have specialists in these certain strategies while being able to incorporate them across the entire business so we can develop more of these omni-channel approaches.
Okay. Appreciate the explanation there too. And with what a brand would require, given the various campaigns they'd want to run and how they would want to scale. But given the way like the industry was, and like you said, all these different generalists in some cases or other specialists not wanting to work together, like
Mm-hmm.
how did you go about building this all-encompassing agency that would really function like a well-oiled machine?
I mean, it didn't start full service. It started primarily on the paid side. It started mainly with like Google ads, Meta ads, Amazon ads. We had a little bit of email marketing in the beginning. So it didn't start off completely full service, but we kind of had to grow into it. And the way that I had structured everything was because I knew that was the direction I wanted to go in. Part of the problem, specific to e-commerce anyway, is there's so many moving parts, right? And there's so many different sales channels. B2B agencies and stuff, very black and white. You're sending people to one website, they're going to convert, they become a lead, great, that's their thing. For e-commerce, very different beast, right? Like you could send someone to your website and they may leave and go to Amazon. So the problem is if you worked with an agency that solely focuses on meta ads and they're driving all this traffic to their website, but they have no idea how Amazon works, they're not able to tell how much crossover you may have. So, like for us, in that specific example, we've done a bunch of tests where like our meta ads team will run a bunch of traffic to a website, and then our Amazon ads team will kind of collaborate with them and evaluate what lift did we see in branded search traffic, so we can evaluate, okay, we actually saw X amount of people, X size increase of search traffic, primarily, at least presumably due to the increase in the meta ad spend. So it's kind of getting everyone to work together and look at the business a little bit more holistically. Because when we first started, we did a bunch of those tests where like you'd leave meta ad spend even for the month, and you would leave Amazon ad spend even for the month, and you'd have a baseline. Then the next month we would increase meta ad spend but leave Amazon as is. And I think 75-80% of the time, almost every brand we did it with, we saw a pretty significant jump in revenue on Amazon, even though that traffic was headed to the website. So we had to have our meta ads team start to work a little bit more closely with our Amazon team because we knew there was bleed over. Now we've got the opposite happening where you get people that are finding brands on Amazon, they're actually going to the website. Or like we do a lot of work with the Buy with Prime team. They now allow you to run DSP ads from Amazon back to your website. So now we're trying to find ways like, okay, now our Amazon team has to know what our website team is doing because we're kind of cross promoting everything. So it's being able to have all of those people that have the specialties in house that can actually collaborate together to evaluate what are the smartest things for us to be doing, as opposed to someone internally trying to juggle 600 different agencies who are basically focused on the same thing.
Okay. And how's that transition been, meaning, getting these different specialists to really work together, even though they might be bouncing traffic to each other's department? I mean, they're obviously your employees, so they're not, maybe competing from that standpoint, but how's the synergy been within the team in putting all those pieces together?
I mean, we always elaborate what our overall overarching kind of KPI is with a certain brand. So obviously, 9 times out of 10, you've got brands that are focused on like on Amazon. Everyone's got a tacos goal, right? So how much ad spend what your ad spend was versus your overall revenue. technically you really should be looking at your business holistically like that regardless. So like we look at overall ad spend even off Amazon, factoring in Meta and Google and TikTok and everything else we're running ads for, and then overall revenue coming in not just from Amazon but from Walmart or eBay or your website or anywhere else that they're selling. So we look at everything holistically. And so the teams are all aligned with, we know what the goals are. Yeah, there are certain things that the SEO team is trying to do in terms of increasing organic traffic, et cetera. There's certain things the Google Ads team is trying to do from increasing revenue from a SEM perspective, but they overlap so much where there's keyword sharing, or Google Ads team is running ads to specific articles to help them rank faster. So it's allowing everyone to kind of work together to go towards whatever that ends KPI is for that brand that we're working with.
Okay. All right. And as you've scaled this company out, what's been the biggest challenge that you've come across?
I would say the omni-channel side, the omni-channel concept, right? So basically positioning your marketing and your business to allow the consumer to shop wherever they're most comfortable. It might be your website, it might be Amazon. Looking at your marketing from more of a holistic perspective is not something a lot of brands grasp. Like 5-10 years ago, right? Online, you could count every penny. Every penny that you put into anything, you knew exactly what your return was. You knew where people were going. You know where they bought. Like, it was pretty black and white. Then you had the iOS change. Attribution starts to become an issue. Cookies kind of come and go. And so it becomes a lot more difficult to track those things. And so if you look at marketing 20, 30 years ago, billboards, radio, TV, like if you don't know the ROI of a billboard. There's not one billboard that someone says, "Oh, I made X amount off that billboard." You don't know, because it's off brand awareness, it's off brand recall, it's off just people's ability to remember who you are, so that when they come to make the decision, they remember who you are.
Feeling lost in the noise of social media? Inspo cuts through the clutter, connecting you directly with real insights from real experts and industry leaders. It's a new social network dedicated to knowledge sharing, industry insights, and thought leadership. Get the latest from top minds in your field, or build your own thought leadership portfolio on Inspo. Already trusted by thousands of professionals worldwide, be part of the conversation and download Inspo Experts today on the App Store or visit www.inspo.expert.
So marketing is all about emotions. It's not always about direct sales. From a digital marketing perspective, 5-6 years ago, it was all about direct sales. It's starting to get away from that. People are finding products on TikTok and they're going to Amazon to shop. People are finding products through Google search, getting to your website, and then they're leaving and they're going to buy from you somewhere else. So like, looking at it holistically is what a lot of brands need to be doing, because that's how people are discovering product, because they're all over the internet and they keep going even to newer places. So the issue kind of has become educating brands on why you need to look at the business holistically and not be so reliant on platforms like Amazon that just constantly increase costs.
Yeah, very true. And how has that conversation been? Because like you said, there's so many specialists. And like the meta ad agency might, right, be telling the brand, no, it's about how, the sales within Meta. And then, the other specialist might say, no, it's only about direct sales here. I mean, the concept makes a lot of sense, but how have the brands been in terms of grasping that, even when maybe they can't tell directly where the traffic came from or where the sales came from. But again, the overall number, if it makes sense, if it's increasing, right, and the ROI is there, then you would think they'd be good with that.
Yeah, it's all about the data you're looking at, right? Like traditional meta ad specialist agency, they're going to be very focused on the results within Meta, and then probably, hopefully, the results directly within your websites, let's say through Google Analytics or like Shopify or something, right? What they're not going to be able to do is also evaluate how your Amazon business is doing and decipher if there's any overlap. Some products, that's not the case, right? Like, it's not every brand they're going from website to Amazon or vice versa. It's just certain products. That's what it calls for. It's people what like the product type. They want to get it in a couple days, or maybe it's a newer website, so there's not a ton of reviews on it. So people hop over to Amazon, see how many reviews you have. There's a ton of different reasons. If you're a meta ad specialist agency, let's say in this scenario, they're only going to look at what the results are on your website. And if you're not seeing the return that you want to see through the meta ads, brands turn them off. There's been a bunch of times where we've gotten into certain meta platforms, we've gotten into TikTok ads or whatever, and we look at the results, we go, okay, we see why you're not happy with these. And then we do some digging. We look at their Shopify. We kind of look at what the brand lift is on Amazon and start to evaluate, like based on when you increased ad spend on Meta, what was your brand lift on Amazon? And then we can start to look at those numbers and we can actually go, actually, even though you have to factor in the gray area, right? Like you don't know that they came from Meta and went to Amazon, but there was a significant brand lift during that time. So we can assume some of it was. So you have like a gray area of data. That's where you look at it and you go, actually, your meta ads are doing really well. The problem is your website doesn't convert as well as you need it to, and people are leaving and they're going to Amazon. So then we start looking at different functionality like buy with Prime, or sometimes we'll create like available on Amazon buttons and help people directly go to Amazon if the brand wants to do that. Or the brand may be like, no, I don't want to do that at all. I don't want to share my data with Amazon, which we hear all the time. So in which case, then we figure out that's when our UX UI team gets involved and they go, okay, how do we improve the conversion rate on your website? Because a lot of your consumers are leaving and going to Amazon. So it's about having those different skill sets available to be able to evaluate what's actually working and what's not.
Okay. And another question, how do you see like the rise of AI and everything we're seeing with zero-click search now impacting the marketing agency world?
It's really just kind of changing things. I don't really think that it's having like a major impact. I know a lot of agencies are scared, like, oh, we're gonna be out of a job and all that stuff. Like that's, if anything, it's the total opposite. Where now we're starting to evaluate, like, okay, of all of the different strategies we have in place, how are we implementing AI? How are we leveraging certain prompts to make sure that we're getting the information we need? So there is the ability of using it internally, right, where it's helping with a research perspective or copy or creative or anything that we need to do from that perspective. But then you look at, okay, how is it affecting the actual brand, right? So Google's AI overview starts rolling out a little bit heavier towards the end of last year. So as soon as that started happening by like, I think it was November-ish when it was fully rolled out, we saw significant decreases in organic traffic across all brands. But we saw huge lifts in organic impressions across almost all brands. And what we realized was the overview is giving you the impression, like you do get credit for giving the AI overview the answer, but if they don't click, then you don't get the organic traffic. So we had to look at a pivot from an SEO perspective to make sure that we're writing certain content in a certain way that incentivizes people to come to the website, not just answer basic questions that an AI overview is going to give them. So we kind of have to start looking at that. But then what we've realized is, especially from a D2C side, the more you improve your SEO just from standard SEO best practices, good UX UI, make sure you've got your keywords in place, but don't overdo it. Have good copy so that people are interested in reading it. Your standard stuff that you need to do from an SEO perspective. That's how all of these chatbots are getting the answers that they get. So if you have a really good SEO initiative and you're continuously increasing content and basically still leading towards the thought leadership that you were trying to do with your brand, the problem is you're losing traffic from Google, but you're still gaining it from things like ChatGPT. So it's just looking at how are people finding you and accepting the fact that there's not just one or two search engines out there like there were years ago.
Okay. All right. And as far as, continuing to scale, I mean, what other challenges have come up just in terms of with everything changing in the way it has been? Are you still finding like difficulties in growing?
For the agency or for brands?
Well, I guess, let's talk about for brands too, right? Because, right, we've seen, the COVID e-commerce spike. We've seen kind of a return to retail in this like coming years. And then The economy has been kind of, challenging for a lot of people in recent years. I mean, are you
Yeah.
still like what's been the biggest challenge that brands are facing?
I think the biggest challenge I've seen, and I guess we could call it a challenge, or the biggest mistake I've seen, is a lot of brands that just half-ass their approach. Like take Amazon for example, right? At this point, a lot of Amazon sellers understand you have to have a good listing. You have to have good imagery, good A plus content, all the basic stuff. At this point, it's rinse and repeat. We all know this by now. The problem is that over the past 5 years, I actually just did a presentation on this. Over the past 5 years, Amazon's FBA fees have averaged an increase of 10% year over year. CPCs have averaged an increase of 8% year over year, and competition is averaging an increase of 6% year over year. So Amazon's fees of FBA fees and CPCs are increasing. So you're paying more to be on Amazon. But at the same time, you're getting 6% more competition at the same time. And most of that competition is stemming from overseas. So the product price point is staying pretty damn low. So the issue is if you start to outprice your competitors, you start to lose volume. And so you can't entirely do that too much because Amazon's really a race to the bottom. And so because Amazon's fees are going up, but you can't really increase your product price as much as you'd like to, margins are just getting crushed. So now the problem is you're getting all of these Amazon brands that are starting to look into D2C, which makes a ton of sense. Like that's what you should do. You should diversify. You shouldn't rely on one channel. But they go and they just take like a random theme on Shopify, throw it together, and then wonder like, where are my sales? And the D2C space is wildly different than Amazon, right? D2C, you're on the internet, you're on Google, you're on Bing, you're everywhere, you're on social, but people are on these platforms to entertain themselves, to answer questions, to learn things. They're not always there to shop. On Amazon, people are just there to shop. They are not there to entertain themselves. They are there to buy something. So that's why you see like 20, 30, 40% conversion rates on Amazon. But on D2C, you get like 2, 3, 4%. And so these brands just create these really bad websites that just don't convert. Then they run a ton of ads to them and they just go, "Oh, this doesn't work for me." Like, well, you're not approaching it correctly. This isn't Amazon. You can't just throw it up and hope that it works well for you. So that seems to be the biggest challenge is brands are realizing they need to diversify and they're just not educating themselves well enough on the D2C approach or on the individual platforms before they really start to dive into it. And they end up just costing themselves more and more money.
Mm, okay. All right. And we're recording this in August 2025. So given kind of what you've seen in e-commerce, through the first part of the year, and then with the tariffs, I mean, what's your outlook for the rest of the year?
Um, I think so. Obviously, that'd be primarily Q4. I think that I really don't see that big of a drop off from the consumer side. So consumers are still buying. They're still spending their money. They're still purchasing products. We really don't see much of a slowdown. Pretty much everyone we work with is up year over year in one way or another. And what we have noticed is I don't want to say like a slowdown, but there's a little bit more of a reluctancy towards higher price point products, or there's definitely, what is the extra value that they're getting out of it. So there has been like better responses to sales and things like that. But with the tariffs and everything, it depends on your price point, right? And your product. Like if it's going to crush your margins, then you've got a different problem. So what's going to be kind of interesting, and I think Prime Day showed some of this. Prime Day, the consumers there was I think day one it was up like 40% year over year, something ridiculous like that, like really good Prime Day number one. And then when you factor in over 4 days, it was up collectively, right, year over year, nothing too crazy, but it was up. Well, the average sale, like the amount that the consumer saves, was actually down. So I think year over year, it was like last year, I want to say it was like 26, 27% was the average amount a consumer would save. Whereas this year it was like 23% or something. And so Amazon had increased some of their fees in terms of how to do the sales. And then you also have tariffs and you have all these other factors coming in now. And you have people that can't really increase their price points. So like people couldn't offer as much. So what I'm curious about is what's going to happen with those brands that can't do the big sales in Q4. And that's when a lot of the marketing is going to be coming into play, because like you've got to get creative. You've got to find ways to make Q4 still really good for you without just like giving away all of your margin and being like, hey, here's half off my whole website. Like that's ridiculous. That's a short-term solution. So I think that's where it's going to be kind of interesting of, are we going to see, you know, those big like gangbuster sales like you see every Q4, or are we just going to see kind of like, hey, here's some decent sales, but the average consumer is going to kind of weigh whether they want to purchase more or not? My theory.
Okay. All right. And given how far you've come these last 5 years, what's next for you in Blue Tusker?
And we're still growing. You know, we've started looking at acquisitions to speed things up a little bit on our end. You know, it's an agency space, so you don't want to grow too fast, because you end up taking on too many accounts and then you just hire the wrong people and it gets ugly. So we started looking at acquiring other agencies and started to explore some of that area. But you know, we're seeing a lot of Amazon sellers that are wanting to diversify and not be so reliant on that channel. And so we've really started to kind of make sure that we're putting in more resources towards like helping those brands figure out the smartest and most cost effective way to test doing D2C without just jumping into the water. So that tends to be kind of what our main focus is right now.
Okay. All right. And Andrew, if people want to get in touch with you, learn more about what you do and the services you offer, what's the best way people can reach out to you?
Yeah. Bluetusker.com is obviously the easiest. BLUETUSKR.com. And then I'm on pretty much every social media platform at Andrew Maff, ANDREWMAFF.
Hey, quick, one more question. What does the name Blue Tusker mean?
So I mean, technically I made it up. So you know, when my previous agency and a bunch of other agencies I'd worked with in the past, they always had these ridiculous names of like growth digital and like scale marketing, and like they're just kind of like boring names. And so I wanted to just make something up. And so my wife and I met in high school. Our school colors were both blue and gray. And so I kind of went with the blue gray vibe. And then about a year or two before I'd started the agency, I had lost my grandmother. She was a huge fan of elephants. And so I kind of went with the blue gray thing, took elephant, and tusker is what they call them, call certain types of elephants in Africa. And then the company that acquired us from the prior agency, I did not like. And when we left, they rebranded and dropped the E from their name. So I did the same thing, just kind of out of spite. And so I made up the name.
Okay. All right. Appreciate the story behind that. All right, Andrew, thanks so much for joining us and sharing all this valuable wisdom from your journey with our audience. We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right.